Okay, let's go into this packet here. Pretty good. The only thing was this. You'll turn, everything's good. Go to number 12. We're going to look at number 12 and number 13. So if you could just erase on your paper kind of what you have here, and then just kind of go along with what I write on the green sheet. Just kind of erase what you have here. Pause the video if you need to. So it says an item that originally cost $45 marked up by 35%. So because we have up underlined, I don't want to put 35%. What I need to put instead is whatever 100% plus 35% would be. That's 135%, okay? So we want to go with 135%, okay? We don't want to just go with 35%. We want to roll with 135%. So whenever I have a word underlined that insinuates like you would add it or subtract it, if it would say down or off or decrease or something like that, make sure you add that to 100 or you minus it from 100. But you don't want to just use the percent given. And then when I have to add or subtract the percent from 100, it becomes an after over before. 100 is always before. Okay, so after and before. Okay, and I want to figure out the price after. I got to find the price after it was marked up. So I got to find the X for after, and then before, okay, would be the $45. It's always that. If you have to add or subtract the percent from 100, okay, you want to go after, before as your labels. And then from there, it's just 100 times X is 100X. And then I multiply 135 by 45. I don't know what that is on top of my head. So I go 100 or 135 times 45. I got 6,075. And then I can just go ahead and divide by 100 and I have my answer, okay? So 6,075 divided by 100 is going to be 60.75. Okay, now go to the back page and let's look. Now you don't have to erase the whole table. You're just going to erase this part, these two parts. You'll erase this stuff and the two answers. The two answers we'll need to erase. Erase this part, and you want to erase this, 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 and this, okay? Just that, and then from there on up. So I'll go ahead and make my table real quick while you're doing that. So you got fast, slow. 65, 55. Okay, now in here, this right here is the distance traveled. This is just the miles without the per hour. Now, this guy right here traveled 40 miles further, okay? But we don't know how far either car traveled, so we'd put X's in both parts, but I'm allowed to add 40 miles further with that X right there. Okay, so the time up here is the distance divided by speed. Okay, so the distance is X plus 40, and the speed is 65. The distance is X, the speed is 55. Okay. Okay, so then we set those equal to each other. X plus 40 over 65 is equal to X over 55. And then I have to solve for X. It's a little bit harder problem, like 65 times X is 65X. But we'll have to multiply 55 times two different things right here. So we'll times that by 1X, and we'll also times it by 40. So this can be 55X. 55 times 40 is, I think it's 2,200, yep. So over on that side, I write 55X plus 2,200, and then you go from there. So they're on opposite sides. I'll mark off the smaller one and get that to 0. I would subtract it. 10x. That's 2,200. Okay. Now it's time to divide by 10. That's 220. Okay. So I want to put 220 here, and then I come up in here, and those x's I put 220. Well, I kind of already know that the slow one went 220 miles. The fast one, 220 plus 40 would be 260. Okay, hopefully that made sense. So again, the 40 right there, 40 miles further. That means you put two x's in the miles when it says further like that or more than, so you put x and x, but you're allowed to add plus 40 after the x in the fast car. Okay, and then the other one, there's only one problem we have to fix. It would be this one right here. Okay, I would just erase, I'd erase the whole thing, okay, if I were doing it. So let's talk about how this is going to work here. And I'll set up the table kind of just like you saw it. That was already there. You don't need to reset that up. X and Y, minutes and pieces. And 0, 175. Okay, now up here, I am going to make the line. You're correct in that, but the beginning amount's 175. So I go with the 175 at the beginning. And then what you do with the 10, it says 10 more pieces per minute. Now, I know what you saw. You saw the 10 minutes and all that, so you thought 10 went in for minutes. But it's 10 more pieces per minute. And minute doesn't have a number in front of it. So if it just says per minute right there, here's how that works. I would number the minutes 1, 2, 3, and it would keep on going, okay? And what that means is I just add 10 onto this every single time, okay? So it's going to be 185, and then that would be 195, and that would be 205. Really, you really don't have to worry about doing that if you can just remember to put the 175 at the beginning, okay? Because you can place 10 more pieces per minute. Because it's 10 pieces, but that just means your pieces go up by 10 every single minute, is what that would mean right there. So it'd be 175. Again, with the 0, the 175, we're going to want to put at the beginning of the line right here. Okay. Then in the row, I've got the 2 units, the pieces and the minutes. X stands for our minutes, Y stands for our pieces. So per pieces per minute. And the pieces per minute's 10 pieces per minute. So it'd be 10x, okay? So it's 175 plus 10x equals Y, okay? And then I can write my equation, 175 plus 10x equals Y. And I need to put the 5,000 pieces in place of the Y, okay? Okay, so I take that out, minus 75, so 10x. That's going to be 5,000 minus 175 is 4,825, and then I'm going to divide by 10, okay? So 4825 divided by 10. It's going to be 482.5. So that you can write 482.5, and that would be how many minutes it'd take. By the way, I'm going to teach you something here. If somebody you don't have to really do this, but if somebody wanted those minutes as hours, you would divide it by 60, and it'd be about 8 hours. So again, when it says the per minute like that, that just means you add, when it says per minute, you go 1, 2, 3, and you can keep going. I usually just stop at 3, and you just add that 10 on every time. So that means it goes up by 10, 10, 10, 10. Okay, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. You can ask.